Madrimov did exactly what I say he was going to do. He gave Terence Crawford problems. And no matter what you think about that fight, it was never a robbery. I'm Shamisa, and tonight I'm breaking down all the important fights on the Israil Madrimov Terence Crawford fight card. First up, David Morrell, Kalajic. David Morrell looked sloppy. This geezer is clearly an offensive fighter. He was very reckless with the attack, not enough defensive movements, no plan B. Against a bigger puncher, he's going to struggle. Like, somebody I want to see him fight is Anthony Yarde. But before he gets in the ring with that guy, he needs to tidy up his game a bit. Obviously, he's moved up to 175 now. He's got great punch variation, but the power just didn't carry up to the weight. Big shout out to Kalajic, though. Decent fighter, fought well, hard chin. But David Morrell, he needs to tidy up his game. He just did enough to win this fight. Next up, Jared Anderson, Martin Bakole, and like I said, fight of the night. First, let's talk about Anderson. Clearly, it was too early for him to be fighting the likes of Bakole. Underestimated him. Anderson needs to develop his guard. He was relying way too much on his head movement, and he had good punch variation, but he was there standing and banging with a 300-pound man in the middle of the ring, and he kept getting caught on the ropes in the corner. He just needs to fix up. He needs to improve his ring IQ. He needs to develop that guard, because this guy can be a good fighter, and he will be. Just needs to take the time out to improve himself. Now let's talk about Martin Bakole. Before this fight, he was calling himself the undisputed sparring champion of the world. He was saying he's knocking out this guy, that guy during sparring, but now believe him. Martin Bakole could and would beat any heavyweight. He was walking Anderson down like a dad teaching a son a lesson. This guy had no regard for the power coming towards him. Absolutely relentless. He was getting hit with clean shots. He just kept coming. Guy's got a granite chin, slow feet, fluid punches, fluid combinations. And you know what? His speed is alright. This guy's a 300-pound man. You know every punch is carrying serious power. And afterwards, he was calling out Michael Hunter for a rematch. But I think he's surpassed that level now. I believe that he's a top 10 serious contender. Next, Andrew Ruiz, Israil Miller, very controversial. That 116-112 scorecard was very similar to my own. Israil Miller walked Andrew Ruiz down the whole fight. He outworked him head and body. Ruiz had flashes of good combinations, but by the 5th round onwards, he was knackered. He was out of steam. His punching had good timing, which is good considering the time he spent outside of the ring. But his stamina, his engine was so poor. Miller had the opportunity to really put his foot on the gas, increase his punch output, and get the W. He completely controlled the whole tempo of the fight, and you can see judges don't pay attention to bodywork because Miller was lighting Ruiz's body up the entire fight. Next up, Isaac Cruz versus Jose Valenzuela. Venezuelan did very good, used his height and reach effectively. Cruz looked good in patches, but essentially he just ran out of ideas. Venezuelan completely dictated that fight. His hand speed really impressed me, and he had a lot of pop behind those punches. Cruz is way too one-dimensional. This guy needs to start showing us some straight shots, because them vicious hooks ain't always going to work, baby. And it kind of reminds me of Mauricio Lara. He really needs to develop his head movement, and he also needs to stay away from that boy tank, because he's going to get hurt. The main card, Terence Crawford versus Israil Madrimov. First things first, that was never a robbery. In my opinion, it was a draw. Both fighters had great moments in that fight, and this just shows at 154, Crawford cannot be bullying his opponents like he did at 147. Madrimov had excellent footwork, excellent movement, and he should have just let his hands go a lot more. But when he did, Crawford made him pay. Crawford had really good bursts, but he was lacking intensity. I don't know if it's the way of his age catching up to him, but don't get me wrong, still world-class performance. World-class performance from both fighters. Madrimov won a lot of the middle of the rounds. Crawford really came out of the gate in the last couple rounds. And if Madrimov had let his hands go a lot more, he could have clinched this. And he has every right to feel disrespected by how wide the scorecards were. But I would not call this a robbery by any means. I feel like it just could have gone either way. And Crawford keeps calling out Canelo, but I don't see that fight making sense just purely because of the weight difference, the size difference. But Crawford he may be talented, yes, and he is a switcher. And in those aspects, it makes a lot of sense. Who should they fight next? David Morrell should fight Callum Smith. Stylistically, this makes a lot of sense. They're both great fighters. This will be an excellent fight, and they're both in the top 10, and this will put the winner in a great position. Kalajic should fight Lyndon Arthur. They're both teetering in the top 15, and this will boost the winner up to the top 10. The only fight that makes sense for Martin Bakole is Big Bang Zhang. It makes a lot of sense. Similar fighters, similar styles. People are saying that he deserves the winner of Joshua Dubois. I disagree. He needs one more big fight, and that's Big Bang Zhang. I think the next person Isaac Cruz should fight is Dalton Smith. I think that makes a lot of sense. Smith has got great timing, great accuracy. I want to see how that matches up to the peekaboo style of Cruz. I think Jose Venezuelan should fight the winner of Jack Catchell, Regis Prograis, and the winner of that goes on to win a title shot. Terence Crawford should fight Tim Tszyu next. He would genuinely give him a lot of problems. He's got patience, accuracy, power, but genuinely, probably, Crawford will be fighting the winner of Virgil Ortiz, Boachuk. And Ortiz will actually give him a lot of problems. He's got accuracy and power in both hands, so this is a